Hello, Drunkduckers. This is Ozone Ocean here, and we're on the Quackcast, the Drunkduck Quackcast, and this is Quackcast number 778, which is quite a large number. And of course, with me are Tart Serene and Baines.
Hello.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about myths and their pop culture derivatives, how they get changed and stuff like that, and how they've been mutated. But we're not going to give like a very authoritative version of it. We're just going to give like a, our own little takes on it. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have a little chat about that. But first, theme. Thunder Goddess. So now we're talking about, myths and the other versions of myths. But we're not actually, because we have to introduce the featured comic. Quackcast has a featured comic for you, and it's Exposure. So, expose yourself. No, don't. Talk about the comic Exposure. It's a different...
Hello, this is Quackcast, and the feature I've selected for this week is Exposure by Inky Moondrop, and it is rated M for mature. There's CCTV, and there's always a door, with someone sitting and watching behind it. Nico stands on an empty underground metro rail platform in the middle of the night. The overly friendly lady with the forceful gutter punk from earlier descends the stairs, showing off a brand new left eye shiner. But the part where we come to rescue and save the day, it just never happens. Nico returns home to a moldy basement with a bookshelf of analog VHS tapes that share a very similar theme. Nico likes to watch. The art is sepia-toned and a grainy film look similar to the footage of a closed-circuit television security system. The comic features retro technology like Polaroid photographs and VHS cassette tapes. Always have Nico watch over you and read Exposure by Inky Moondrop, rated M.
And now Quai has been fully exposed. Now we're talking about the music from Gun Wars. Well, so it's not the best of. I'll try and find a best of that involves a myth of some kind. So here is the best of. Ripping off King Arthur. And he describes it as being an unusual comic, and this is an unusual theme for it. So we're all preparing for the big event here with this theme. It's a weird mixture of the Rocky theme, fantasy epic, and an 8-bit video game music, as if we're about to see a pixelated medieval fantasy themed version of Mortal Kombat fight showdown to the end. So let's all fight for this big showdown. Here we are. Take it away, Gun Wallace, with Ripping Off King Arthur. That was the best of from Gun Wars. Okay, so now, myths. Myths! And all their derivative pop cultural versions. Well, there's so many, aren't there? So many myths. I love myths. When I was a little kid, I loved fairy tales, which are related to myths in a way. They're repeated stories. They don't have the same cultural cachet as a myth does, because myths tend to be things that whole cultures are founded upon. Like countries are founded upon myths, whereas fairy tales don't really have that kind of strength. But yeah, we see myths from every culture and country. The ones I really kind of grew up with more than anything else were like the Greek myths, because I loved astronomy when I was a little kid, and all the different like planets and stuff like that had different names of Greek gods, or no, Roman gods actually, not Greek gods, but the constellations had the Greek names and stuff like that. And I had these great little books that would tell you the names of these constellations and planets, but they'd also tell you the myths behind them. And I found that so fascinating, and I just loved reading about it. So I became very addicted to those myths, because I just love fantasy, and myths fell into that, and that's why I love like fairy tales as well as a little child. So yeah, but I learned about various myths, as you do as a child, like King Arthur. That myth, it was fascinating to me. It was so fun, and so many different versions of the King Arthur myths, and more modern versions as well. Many more modern versions. Then there was what other? Oh yeah, St. George and the Dragon. There's a lot of fairy tale versions of St. George and the Dragon. And countries, have based their identity on St. George and the Dragon, weirdly. So yeah, that's a big thing. What other myths?
Those fairy tales are based on the true story about George killing that dragon. Is that right?
He did. The last dragon, they're extinct, so he was a bit of a monster. Should have done that. Another big myth I grew up with was, of course, the Monkey King, which is the Chinese, and also, it's mainly a Chinese myth, but I think some other cultures also have their version of it, because it's the one that kind of like resonates a bit. So maybe Vietnam and Japan and things like that have their versions of the Monkey King. And I freaking loved that, because I grew up with that as well. So yeah, those were the big main ones I can think of. What about you, Baines? What kind of myths did you kind of... Beowulf, of course. I loved Beowulf. So.
Yes, well, for me, it definitely would have been Grendel. Like, the hunting of Grendel was one that, when I first read it in an awesome book, collection of sort of different monster stories or something like that. That one really stuck in my mind, and I love that and love it still. Very influential, and millions of stories, obviously, later.
No wonder you like, was it Halloween? No, not Halloween, it's the other one. It's Jason. No, is it Jason? Jason, yeah. The guy with the big machete and the mask. He's based on Grendel.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sort of the idea of the monster terrorizing or hunting some kind of monster. And I think probably could be traced back to Grendel and probably earlier real life threats and stuff like that.
And the first version was obviously based on that, because we have the mother being the real monster.
Yes, right. And Jaws 2 is Jaws' mother. Inexplicably, so related to Grendel's mom. Why it has to be his mother is still unclear.
Bad mother, big bad mother.
Yeah, she's seeking revenge. Yeah.
Oh dear. So you got Grendel. Did you grow up with it all?
It would have been the Cyclops story as well.
Okay.
Like the idea of going to the island with the Cyclops and I love that kind of
famous
material, monsters and scary things. Like it, I really love. Oh,
you're drawn to the monsters.
Always, yeah. I was obsessed with Bigfoot and stuff like that as well.
That's more the urban myth kind of version of it.
Yeah, that's more of a slightly different.
But, okay.
these hidden, like these strange things were out there but hidden or something. Anything to do with that?
Yeah, like I mean, there's one of those things is like dragons, and that there's different dragons from different cultures, but mainly, we've got St. George's dragon and a few others. I don't know. There's a Beowulf dragon. And there's a Siegfried dragon, and then there's a lot of the Asian countries have creatures that we call dragons because they're quite similar, but they're really gods and like manifestations of often manifestations of like natural elements and things.
Yeah. All the cardinal points or stuff like that.
Yeah, a river is a drag, all that kind of stuff. It's slightly different. But yes, okay. So you like the monsters?
Very much. I also I probably would have been older when I heard the Icarus story or some version of the Icarus story. Still probably a kid. And I was like, oh, a symbol of man's hubris, I said.
What about, so there's Icarus. What about Daedalus? The dad?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a weird one because we all remember Icarus, but we never remember Daedalus.
Oh, we do remember Daedalus, guy that made the labyrinth.
Yeah, people who know about Greek mythology do, but most people who, in the West who, not the West, but, like in America, Australia, whatever, who know about the myth, just focus on Icarus. They forget about Daedalus.
Yeah.
The dad, the one who told him not to do this stuff.
Right.
But also, made the labyrinth and made everything. He's a genius.
But there's a mythical idea, like the sort of idea of forbidden knowledge, or the idea of, ambition without restraint or something, strikes a chord, and relates on and on to Frankenstein and other things that I've always liked. But also, the villains who go too far and then end up ruining themselves and things like that. So, this maybe gets away from myth per se, but yeah.
But you've got to kind of like work out. Okay, so there's this myth, and what did it evolve into? All the different versions. So, I mean, let's tackle a big one at the moment. So we've got an obvious one. So we've got the Odyssey, which is, a fantastic myth. This is, related by Homer, apparently, who's either one person or a tradition of storytellers who are just all called Homers. No one really knows. So that's related, and it's meant to be about, maybe based on a true story of something that happens. Before, maybe based on a true story of, the early version of the Greek states, but in reality, it's mostly just myth, because, it involves lots of gods and all that kind of stuff, so you can't really be too, it has to be totally real. Anyway, so, this is a big famous story. Heavily, heavily influential in ancient Greece and classical Greece. They love these stories. It's in 1 billion different images on pottery and statuary and frescoes and mosaics and stuff like that. All over the place. Very heavily depicted. So we know exactly what these people imagined these characters to look like. And then we have all these kind of very modern versions. I think there hasn't been that many versions throughout history. Mainly people have just tried to relate these myths as closely as they possibly could, just with translations. That's the only thing. But in the modern day, we have people just deciding, hey, we could do what we want with them. And they interpret them in all different ways. And lately, we've got the version by, I think, who's that filmmaker? Nolan? Did the Batman films. So he's doing his version. And we've got Matt Damon playing Odysseus, which is I hate Matt Damon. And a lot of other different people, like actors, playing the different characters. And they've just decided to give them whatever costumes they feel like, and I think Agamemnon's got this Batman-looking helmet and all this, and they look rather odd. See, even Tance's dogs aren't very happy about it.
What? Even Tant?
Your dogs aren't very happy about it.
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear them. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize. Your dogs are voicing their displeasure at this.
Yeah, they're not Matt Damon fans, obviously.
Clearly not. Yeah.
You just know he's going to do that Boston accent for this year.
The one thing I like after years and years and years of having all the myths from Greek mythology being warped and bent out of shape for anyone and everyone, I don't care anymore.
Oh.
It's like, yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever. But I have to say that I would like for once in the lifetime of film, for someone to actually try and make it how a Greek would expect it to be.
Yeah. I'm not going to watch. I don't really care about it myself. I've just seen a lot of people complaining about. My only real problem is the people are going, oh my god, why? This is the original historical version of the armor with this that the characters should be wearing with these big heavy bronze plates and stuff like that. And then people were going, yeah, but don't they look dorky and clumsy? And so why don't you like this fantastical Hollywood version of this black leather shit that they're wearing? It's a better version. And I just look at it and go, no, the Greeks didn't ever imagine the characters looking this so-called historically accurate. No one ever imagined the characters looking like that. No one. Everybody imagined them as classical, either nude or classical hoplites in Corinthian helmets. That's what all the art depicts, and that looks cool. That's what they should be doing. Mm-hmm. They should make them like it was always imagined to be. It's not historically accurate, but it's historically accurate in the way that the people who celebrated the myth imagined them to be. So, yeah, it's culturally accurate. Do that.
Yeah, not only that, as someone that was officially, formally taught the Iliad and the Odyssey in high school and at least high school, there is one thing that everyone somehow never mentions about Homer and the epics. And that is that Homer himself has a ton of anachronisms in. And that's actually something that is so typical of Homer that it's part of how we date when he wrote these things down, or at least when these things were written down, because of all the anachronisms that would not make sense for Mycenaean Greece. So the problem is not the historical, the accuracy of, let's make everything Mycenaean.
Yeah.
Which would be very cool, by the way. I'm not saying that, whoever thinks that those designs are dorky, I don't know what to tell you, man. So the problem is that they do not have any kind of consistency in how they want to interpret the myth usually. And the problem with Nolan that I have with the whole Nolan thing is that he does not commit to one anachronism, but keep it consistent. So Homer's, like you said, was anachronistic because everyone was picturing, the Corinthian cool helmets with a crest and blah, blah, all of that. But it was all consistent. It was from one era.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
And that's the thing. Like, those Corinthian helmets are apparently only worn for maybe 200 years or something, and that
maybe even less.
Yeah, but they still consistently depicted the mythological characters all wearing them because that was representative of heroism.
Yes.
And so that's the thing. Exactly as you say. But yeah, that's a very interesting kind of aspect of that stuff. And, we did have different versions of myths even in the ancient times. And let's say with classic, we've talked about this before, Ovid doing all his crappy versions hundreds of years later in the Roman period of myths, like reinterpreting them, not reinterpreting them like because, I think the myth happened this way. It was more like, wasn't it like he was doing different versions for political reasons? Trying to illustrate different political realities by or using the myths as his source material, like modern day people do. But so we did always have different versions of these things. Okay, so what about, say, so not so much a massively cultural myth, but say Robin Hood, which I think started out as like a popular folk tale and became kind of a myth. So what is interesting is that a lot of, we all pretty well know the Robin Hood story, don't we? This fellow who's either like a bandit, or he's a dispossessed prince or a royal or whatever. He's had his land stolen from him and turns to living in the forest as a bandit. So there's those kind of two versions of the story. And he steals he collects a little gang around him of these various people, and they steal from the rich using bows as their weapon, and then they give the money to the poor. And that's the main kind of story there. It's not very complicated. But there's, all kinds of various Hollywood versions in the modern day. One of my favorites, the Errol Flynn film, which I grew up with as a child and I loved. That's quite fun. But there's a version a lot of people know, which is the Disney version, where we have a fox playing Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah. It was one of my first Disney films. I still love it.
And that was the basis for a lot of fairy culture. So without that film, we wouldn't have as much fairy culture as we have, Like we've got fairy comics on Drunkduck, of course, and everywhere else, but that film helped create that whole thing.
Wow.
Did you guys know that?
There are fairies in that movie? I barely remember that one.
Furries!
Oh, furries! Yes, of course.
Yes.
Like, what? Trying to remember.
When you get dressed up in your orange fursuit
Yes.
decide on your personality.
How could I mistake that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a very formative film, that one. That and the Jungle Book.
Mm.
And all the other anthro films they came up with later. But yeah, so Robin Hood, that's a pretty formative one, and it's an important myth because, you know, you work on the whole idea of like fighting against the entitled wealthy people or royalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Injustice and all those kinds of things.
Redistributing money.
Robin Hood, the communist.
Yes, but he starts out, in a lot of people's minds, he starts out as like a, you know, I don't know, a lord or something like that.
That was a very much like a later addition to his character design. Like originally he was just like a commoner that did this.
I mean, it
But we cannot, we cannot have commoners, getting, the better of the nobility, God forbid. So we had to make him a noble.
I don't think it was that late. Maybe like up to 100 years later. Maybe.
I think it was quite later than that. I distinctly remember reading like a historian's account of how the myth of Robin Hood evolved, and the whole idea that he was actually like a noble that was like had lost his land, or whatever reason it was that he had lost his land about, like evil Prince John or evil Sheriff of Nottingham, or what have you. That was like easily 200, 300 years later. So,
oh wow,
yeah, but I can double check. I mean, I might be remembering wrong. I'm not going to. It's not the hill I'm going to die on.
So we've had a few versions
of target pretty close, I'm going to guess. But his just to add this, his lineage would be, I mean, would Zorro have been later, but Batman, the noble who fights for some kind of justice, like Batman would be descendant
Batman's
of Robin Hood.
Derivative,
Is that thematic idea that must go back to some Greek story or stories or characters?
Not necessarily.
No.
Wow, awesome.
That was actually not a thing, because if you have stories about like kings or nobles or even deities that were being bleep holes to mortals, or to their subjects or whatever, the one that intervened and delivered justice was either a demigod, like a hero, or it was someone from the Olympians that did it. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd face divine punishment.
Yeah. Or the other thing was that someone that was a victim of this situation sort of gathered the cleverness or the endurance, or something, whatever, depending on what the situation was, overcome the obstacles, and then basically walk up to the throne, kill the guy, and sit on the throne.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So there was also that.
Wow.
Yeah. It was not even considered usurping. It was like, the guy was being a dick, and therefore
justice
he was,
in a way.
he was called, and that's actually part of the whole pattern of hubris, nemesis. So the guy soars really high, and where they are not supposed to be, they are not. They shouldn't overstep, let's say. So they commit hubris, and then after they do this comes nemesis. That is like, karma is going to get you. It's like the cosmos is going to make sure that you fall from that height. And you
Right.
fall really badly. Because usually, and that's the twisted thing about Greek mythology, is that the guy doesn't necessarily die. That's the fun, easy nemesis. The usual nemesis is that the guy survives, but everything he or she, usually he, loves is the thing that perishes.
Yes.
So they stay with utter pain without actually dying. So
Right.
yeah.
Famous
Wow.
Oedipus.
Yeah.
He had a great life.
Yeah. So that's that. Or if you are really bad, then there's the really bad nemesis, and that is that when you die, that's when the torture begins in Tartarus.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, goodness me.
because the other two versions, at least death is a release, but not when death is your warden. So,
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
exactly. Then we have those two famous characters.
Tantalus and Sisyphus.
There you go. Thank you, Tantalus and Sisyphus. So,
Yes.
yeah. Sisyphus with the rock and Tantalus with the water and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got those two guys.
Who had the paper? I'm sorry.
The paper.
It's not rock and scissors, Baines, you idiot. But I had to stretch things a little bit.
No, that was genius. Excellent. All right, so yeah, there's those famous stories. So
the idea of like, sorry, Oz.
No, go.
This I don't think you could necessarily call this a myth. You guys might have some notion of whether this came from somewhere, but like, say, Robinson Crusoe, which is a work of fiction, but kind of
Lewis Stevenson.
Yeah, powerful and just ideas that really resonate, just with humans. And obviously the person lost or isolated or whatever is just like an idea that obviously must have been there in stories through human history.
I don't know. I think that was Robert came up with these ideas based on the ideas of like there was a great deal of exploration happening at the time. There's people going all over the oceans, in ships.
Right.
This was the huge expansion and colonization kind of period. But in Robinson Crusoe, he's got like this white guy gets stranded on an island, and he has discovered this native fellow. So it's like instead of having the white guy dominating the native fellow, they work in sort of partnership, and it's showing like that the native fellow is actually helping and supporting, and they can work together to achieve these things. He's still sort of nominally in charge, which is of course the white cultural idea at the time, but they're still working together, and he's not really considering him as like a savage or something like that. He's considering him as like and since then the idea became known as this is my man Friday, because that was like someone who is like really competent and will sort things out. So that became synonymous with that idea. So I don't know if that was myth based. I think maybe he was going for a kind of like a bit of a social commentary thing on the idea of colonization. I'm not sure. I have not looked into it, but I know it was very influential later on. That story was redone and redone in many different ways. Like after that, we had the story of the Swiss family Robinson, which came like 70 years after, and then we have like many more versions of that kind of
Yeah, Lost in Space. So.
Yes, Lost in Space.
Speaking of which, I first probably heard of Robin Hood via the cartoon Rocket Robin Hood. You guys have that?
No, honestly.
Would it have been like a Hanna-Barbera? It was like a lot like the 60s Spider-Man animated show. It was similar animation style, whatever company that was. You guys didn't have that, Oz?
No.
Like a science fiction version of Robin Hood?
I never, ever heard of that. I'm going to look it up now.
Really?
Maybe this was a fever dream.
it was a recurring one.
Okay, oh my god, look at this character. That can't be real. I'm looking up the Wikipedia for it now. 1969. Oh, it's a Canadian thing. Okay, well, there you go.
Okay, that explains it. That's why we didn't have it.
Yeah.
Really? CBC television. Yeah. Ralph Bakshi. Well, of course. This is the genius of Ralph. Ralph is behind it.
I didn't even know he was involved. Jeez.
Yeah. And some other, I think Paul Kligman. I don't know any of these other names. But yeah, Ralph Bakshi. Incredible. And he wrote it apparently, so that's amazing.
Oh, wow. Well, I learned something too.
And yeah, so this is like a story of all these characters set in space with, of course, a very like space ghost sort of aesthetic. Would you say?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's something to explore. Rocket Robin Hood. Never heard of it. Ever.
Wow. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying that's probably how I heard of Robin Hood initially.
I was confused. When I was growing up, I confused William Tell with Robin Hood.
Oh.
Because Robin Hood's biggest feat in the whole story is that he splits an arrow to show his skill. And William Tell's biggest feat is that he shoots an apple off his son's head. So in both stories, there's feats of marksmanship.
Right.
Although shooting an apple off someone's head with a crossbow is much easier than shooting an arrow and a half with a longbow. Just saying. Yeah, there's those two characters. What about Beowulf? Like, you were saying you grew up with Beowulf?
Yeah, well, there was I've just been looking it up since this episode has jogged my memory about this book I loved as a kid. I wish I still had it because I don't think I can get it for any reasonable price now. It was called Monsters, Ghosts, and UFOs. And it had great illustrations in it, and it had...
Oh, Grendel.
Grendel, yeah. Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
No, I was saying Beowulf, but of course
Beowulf,
Grendel is the main monster in Beowulf, so yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it was full of, I believe, the true stories of, like, behind these mythical monsters. I think sometimes it was fanciful, this book. And then Ghosts and UFOs as well, so a little more factual, but also fascinating. And that's where I think the story of the Cyclops is in there.
Oh, lovely.
And then
Polyphemus, I think he's called.
Yes, that's his name.
Okay.
Right. Okay. See, I remember the monster. It's more memorable.
So yeah, in the myth of Beowulf with Grendel, it's a pretty standard story. This is very old. It's considered an English story, but sort of Anglo-Saxon. But in that myth, there's a monster that every night breaks into the castle and murders one of the king's men, basically, as far as I remember it. And no one can do anything.
Or
no one can stop him. Yeah.
I think as many as it could get. I think.
And no one can stop him. No one can. He's indestructible, unbeatable, until this traveling guy comes along, Beowulf, and he says, yes, hello, I'm Beowulf. I can help you out. Oh, yes. Thank you very much for giving me shelter. In return, I'll watch out for your resident monster, and I shall battle him. And that's what happened. And Beowulf, he agreed, and he waited, and he fought this monster, Grendel, barehanded, not with swords or axes, barehanded. And he ripped off his arm. He tore it from his body. I remember that. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but that's what I remember.
You might be right. I have less memory of the details.
I think, and maybe that was from the movie and not the myth, that he sort of made the arm wedged between the great doors of the five, the main hut of the five or whatever, and forced Grendel to basically leave it behind, something like that. Maybe not. Maybe he tore it off completely. Maybe.
Not sure. So his arm was removed, and so Grendel ran away wounded, I believe. Now this is where he gets fuzzy because I don't remember that much. He ran away wounded and sort of dived into some kind of pond where he lived underwater, and died under there actually. And Beowulf dived under to fight him, but he's already dead. And then Grendel's mother comes and fights, and she's a much stronger villain or stronger monster, and I don't know. Then it gets fuzzy because I can't remember anything. So.
I think it ends up with I don't know if it is his mom that kills Beowulf. I think not. I think
no, Beowulf doesn't die.
Okay.
He dies in the end. He dies in the end. But he's old, he's very old, and then he goes to fight some other monster, and he dies there.
Yes, he dies fighting a dragon, I believe. My memory might be
dragons, man. They'll get you.
Yeah, they will.
Final boss.
Yeah, that's...
Especially when you are geriatric.
Yeah.
Yes. Trying to rip off the dragon's arm. No.
Okay, you both. I always talk about this story, and you both remember more about it than I do. So I have to look into it again, refresh. But it's Jaws, it's Jaws. That's what is also neat about it. It's directly monster stories and monster movies. It's not
Jaws lives in the water too.
As a myth, as a story.
Yeah. So Grendel goes back to the water, and that's where Jaws lives. So there you go.
I'm thinking more broad, more of a wider view than that. But yeah.
Yeah. No. I can see the parallels. Definitely.
Well, there's a lot of different versions of there's some direct kind of versions, of course, but there was this great version with Rutger Hauer as a Beowulf kind of.
Oh yeah, I remember that vaguely.
Sci-fi.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but yeah, they're fun. Beowulf's a fun kind of story. I haven't read the original.
I don't think I have either. I'm yakking about it so often. I should really
I had I studied it in college.
Oh, is it a long?
Okay.
What?
Is it a long story or something? You started it?
It's not really all that long. It's but we get it in this very fancy verse form, and it is it's very archaic sounding English because, of course, it's a translation.
Right.
And then you get to have like all kinds of literary analysis on all the symbols and what have you and all of that. And I remember the main story and some of the patterns, and just that I got an A on the test. That's it. So
Good.
Ooh.
That
yeah,
was, yeah.
I was a nerd.
Awesome.
Like those were easy A's for me. I don't
Yeah.
remember the rest. But yeah. What other myth do you really like as a kid?
King Arthur.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
All of
And
it.
there's different versions of that don't really fit together very well
Hmm.
because
Did you
they were
like?
added to almost immediately.
Yeah. I remember like I had conflicting feelings about King Arthur because I really liked up until he created the Knights of the Round Table, and he was like he had Guinevere and blah blah. But then everything goes to shit. Even the most like nobody, I mean, except Galahad, maybe. I mean, assuming, depending on how you look at him. And Gawain as well. Like beyond these two, everybody else is a terrible person.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then there's of course the more what is it? Not Life of Brian. Oh, King Arthur.
Monty
Yeah,
Python and the Holy Grail.
yeah, their version of it.
Yep.
But that tackles, yeah, it's like. So okay, so what we know of King Arthur is it was meant to be some kind of fake history of Britain because Geoffrey from Monmouth or someone was writing this story about the lineage of the Saxon kings or whatever, and they came up with this King Arthur. He came up with this King Arthur story, and it was like a heroic kind of origin story. And later on, we have kings and people going, "Oh my god, yeah, I really love this story." It's like the romance of chivalry and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got like different writers contributing to it and adding different parts. So then we have, starting off with the whole like, oh yes, he's royalty because he gets handed the sword or whatever, or pulls out the stone, all these kind of things. Then we have like the Round Table coming into it, and then we have the Lancelot and Guinevere, the whole kind of infidelity, and then we've got the Holy Grail later on,
And there's this weirdo green knight somewhere wedged in that makes no sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all over the place. It doesn't really fit together very well,
No,
like in a kind of like like in an order, in a linear fashion. It doesn't work because which is the original sword, for example? Is it the one that he pulled out of the stone? Or was it the one he was given in the lake? Are they two different swords? Or some people try and say, oh yeah, he pulled the sword out of the stone and then later on broke and then he chucked it in the lake and he gets given it back again. So
yeah,
they're trying to fit, but it doesn't work because they are two different stories.
There is a version where it's not a sword that the Lady of the Lake gives him, but a scabbard, which is magic. Basically makes him, the scabbard for the sword is actually kind of more important than the sword itself, like from Excalibur, because it's supposed to keep him immune to injury, basically makes him Wolverine. Yeah, so I think he loses it at some point. Either he loses it or Organa steals it or something happens and he dies. That's in like Mortar tier. So.
Here's something. Like a lot of in these stories, like you reminded me. So King Arthur's got his Excalibur, which is his special item, and you're saying he has this special scabbard. Now, a lot of these mythological characters have these special items that make them even specialer. So we've got, like, way back in the Greek myths, we have, Perseus has this magic helmet that can make him invisible. Then there's the Medusa head is this thing, you could use to turn people to... I don't know how it's used after he cuts it off. Does he use it to turn people to stone or whatever? Or
he only uses it once, like when he returns to the king, sent him off to the mission to die. The king challenges him that he is lying, and he says, "I don't believe that you killed the Medusa." And he says, "Okay, fine, I'll show you her head." He pulls the head out of the bag that he had it, and so the head still turns things to stone, still works, even though she's dead. And so he looks into the dead eyes of the Medusa and turns to stone, conveniently. And then Perseus very quickly puts the head back in the bag, and becomes king of. I don't remember where he was exactly. I can look it up real quick. But so and then he gives it to Athena, who was the one that helped him basically kill the Medusa. And Athena puts it on her shield, and that's why she has a Medusa's head as her shield sigil or sign. Yeah.
And it becomes ever after known as an item of protection in a lot of different cultures. So all the way up to the 19th century, we have French soldiers with the Medusa's head on their helmet crests, showing that they have magic, not magical protection, but it's a symbol of protection. So that's interesting, isn't it? Thousands of years later, it's still popping up as this major symbol. So we've got excellent examples in Greek culture of magic items, and then we've got like in Norse culture, or Scandinavian culture, I say, it's not Norse culture, because Scandinavian culture and Germanic culture, I should say, even make it even broader, because it was all a big thing. They all had the same religion. All Germanic peoples, they had the what was he? Thor, Odin, all these kind of people, and of course Thor has his magic hammer, which helps him do all these kind of things. He has magic gauntlets that give him abilities. He has a magic belt that gives him abilities. Odin has a magic spear. All this kind of stuff. So magic items become a major thing. The Marvel version of Thor, of course, he flies by spinning his hammer and then just sort of like throwing it. But the ancient version of Thor, I think he rode around in a chariot pulled by rams.
Yeah. I think so, yeah. I don't remember very well because I didn't study Norse mythology as much as I know mine. So, yeah.
But yes, I've got these magic items that these mythological creatures have, and that ties in very directly to like modern versions of these things. Like, of course, we have the Marvel version of Thor, who is a slightly different version. But we have all these other kind of like superhero characters who often have magic items that give them the powers. And you could trace that back to mythological characters. Like, Green Lantern has a ring that gives him powers.
Yeah. Magic rings are very prominent, like the Western mythologies, I would say. And now that I think about it, we don't really have Greek mythology magical rings per se. Like, I don't remember a ring being the center of anything. So
the only ring I can think of in mythology is the one that I think it's Siegfried. No.
The Nibelung, the ring of the Nibelung.
Yeah.
But it's not only that. I mean, was like another ring somewhere in the Arthurian legends again. And then you have all the, proud knight, fair ladies, Arthurian-esque legends where you have a lot of like different magic rings. So
yes, rings as magic items. All right, so our time is running out. What other big stories that meant a lot to us that we can see a lot of different versions in today?
I don't know versions today, but I really liked the Argonauts.
Oh yeah, that was a massive thing in my mum's time, the baby boomers' time, because there were these radio shows where these everybody would like be part of the Argo, you'd like and they'd have rings and stuff like that because you were part of the Argo, like you were the crew.
Oh,
so yeah, that was a big baby boomer thing. So probably back in the 1950s. Yeah. And it was all driven around these radio things. So the Argonauts. So I didn't even know much about that myself. Like not about the original myth.
Yeah, it's about like Jason, like most of the demigods and like heroes and stuff. He is given an assignment that is supposed to kill him, and he is supposed to go get the golden fleece. And
of course, yes.
yeah, and he amasses, like, he has, I don't know how well connected the guy was, but he amasses this group of other demigods, like a Justice League demigods. And they get on this ship that is again built be magic, more or less, the Argo. And that's why it's the Argonauts. It's the sailors of the Argo. That's what the word means in Greek. And so they go on this huge adventure that's supposed to be basically him going to get the golden fleece, which is, I think, if not in Colchis, somewhere around there, like the Black Sea or something. And the thing is that it's more of an adventure, and everyone shoehorns their stories in. And so they go around the coast and they stop at different points and they have different adventures. Have nothing to do with Jason's fleece. So yeah, which is fun. For me, it was fun. At some point, even Atalanta was on the Argonaut, on the Argo, and which technically shouldn't happen because she's a girl and girls are bad luck on ships, even for the ancient, or especially for the ancient Greeks. So yeah, I really like that. I really like that, and the whole fleece thing. I really like that one as well.
The ancient the golden fleece is related to like the myth of Ares in a way, because Ares is represented by the ram. The creature with the golden fleece.
It is connected with the naming of the Hellespont. It's the story of Phrixus and Nelly. Like, they were two siblings, and she basically fell in the Hellespont, and that's the sea. It's named, the sea is named after her. And he was, like, Phrixus was devastated, and he sacrificed the ram, golden ram, Iris, I think. So.
Okay. Well, the golden. Oh, our time has ended. It's up. Oh my god. It's a mythcast.
The rebels now have ended.
Very well said. Bye-bye, people. Bye-bye, my lovely
Bye.
Bye-bye, Tons. Bye-bye, Baines.
Bye.
Quackcast number 778.